What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. Sorry, my voice just cracked. It's late. I was about to go to bed, but watching this interview of Sean Strickland, now released, and remembering something that happened this morning made me realize I had to make this video tonight before I went to bed because something crazy has happened here, and I wanted to point it out, and I also wanted to ask everybody who might watch this video to see if you guys notice the same thing. Something very, very suspicious has happened with this video. So let me start by saying what happened this morning. I woke up around 6:37 in the morning, something like that. And there was a video premiering on Michael Bisping's channel. It was this interview with him and Sean Strickland. Now, I started watching it and it was in the middle of the premiere, so it wasn't at the very beginning. And I wanted to see it from the beginning. So I rewound it, which you can do while the video is premiering, and I started watching from the beginning. And we started getting into the normal things that Sean Strickland does. He's very edgy in his interviews and started saying some slightly crazy things as he does, which is why his interviews are so fun. And then all of a sudden, the video disappeared and it said it was no longer available. So the interview and that video had been pulled from YouTube completely. And I didn't know why. When I was hearing it, it was the typical Sean Strickland stuff, a little bit out there, but nothing horrendous, nothing crazy, nothing that would be something that could maybe get somebody canceled, I suppose. Now, I didn't think too much of it at the time. I didn't know why they pulled it because, again, I didn't see anything crazy. So I went back to, doing my thing and whatever. And then the video appeared later in the day and I finally got a chance to watch it. And there's something very peculiar in it that I'm going to show you. Now, before we get to the juicy part as to where my conspiracy theory begins, I'm just going to show you some clips that I picked out from this interview, which show Sean kind of going off the rails more and more in the interview, where I'm showing you this to just explain that I think maybe he went really off the rails at some point, perhaps in this interview. And if you take into consideration everything that's happened in the last week at the UFC with Conor McGregor, Bryce Mitchell, both of them saying completely outlandish things, I do think that the UFC is in a little bit of hot water with some people that have been particularly offended by the comments of their fighters and the fact that maybe they haven't disciplined them. And of course, that is the UFC's MO. They don't want to discipline people for things that they say. They promote free speech. So I imagine that nothing specific is going to happen to either of those fighters just for things that they've said, even though those things have been highly inflammatory. But anyways, I think something happened here, and either Bisping was talked to by somebody at the UFC, or maybe he wanted to do them a solid and not wanted to have a third fighter under close scrutiny and getting everybody upset and all up in arms within a week. So he pulled it, and I think he yanked something out of it. I really do. I want to know what you guys think, and give me some feedback, give me some thoughts if anybody else knows this is crazy. Okay, so we're going to start off just with some clips, and you can see how he kind of begins even going at Michael Bisping. I love how Michael Bisping is just not phased and throws it right back at him. But check this out. You can see Sean comes in definitely on one. So here we go.
Sean, come on, we know each other. We go back a long way.
Well, generally I try to threaten the press, but I don't know if I can threaten this motherfucker. He'd actually fight a little bit. He's kind of
a little bit. Hey, Sean, we used to spar. Come on, man.
Relax, dude. Your nuts are probably full gray, dude. How much TRT are you on, dude? Relax.
Enough to put you in your place. Don't worry about it. Talk about Drickistar.
Love it. Michael Bisping doesn't miss me enough to put you in your place. He is just not phased. Strickland's tried that old game where he just bullies people essentially to some extent, but I like how Michael Bisping pushes back there. That's dope. But anyway, Sean's being Sean, still pretty funny. Now we're going to move on to the second clip, more of Sean Strickland. Check this out.
So no, I used to do an interview in the same room with McKenzie, the DI hire, and then now since Dana and Trump are going dick to dick, they're Indian.
Oh yeah, they brought me in. No, this is not for UFC.
From what I heard, dude, UFC is actually a decent DI organization.
Oh really?
Oh, 100%, dude. UFC. Really big DI. I'm not even joking. This is real. So it's like,
look how uncomfortable he's getting. This is amazing.
Now since Trump and Dana are going dick to dick, dude, maybe we might get some freedom. Be qualification for the job, right?
So speaking of, I'm gonna just sidestep that.
Ask any question you want.
Again, he's already getting so uncomfortable. You can tell he's trying to get away from these topics. Maybe he's aware of the fact that he doesn't want to have him say too many crazy things, and he's thinking, hey, the UFC is in some major deep trouble potentially with a lot of folks. let's get out of this controversial potential subject matter. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he's just going with the flow and just doesn't want this on his channel. I don't know. Anyways, okay, moving on to the next clip before we get to the really juicy part. Okay, check this out.
Like, no, I don't. If you're not poor, you're not allowed to be unhappy.
If you're not poor, you're not allowed to be on.
Yes.
I disagree.
No, that means you're just a bitch, dude.
Yeah, no. What happens
But
if
you take your unhappiness and you hide that shit and you look in the mirror, like go on Google, dude, and you go watch a little black kid in a salt mine and you're like,
no, for sure. There's levels and there's always other perspectives to look at, but money isn't the answer to everything. I do say that money is great because it allows a lot of freedom. It removes a lot of stress, and then you can focus.
but if
on
you're not,
the normal
if you
things
could
in life,
feed and make your mortgage, what is there anything to be sad about?
there's a lot of things.
Like what?
Well, maybe the stuff you were talking about before over in Palestine. Maybe your wife just left him. Maybe you walked in and she was fucking someone else.
If you didn't, it
Do you know
doesn't
what I
get a
mean?
new one, dude. You're not poor.
Maybe your kid just died. There's
Okay,
a lot of things
so
to
you
get
wanna
sad
talk
about.
about-
By the way, did you hear that? He said that there's a lot of things to be sad about. Maybe the things that you mentioned in Palestine. That's not in this interview. That may have been what he removed, which I'm going to get to in a second. He just said that. I think that's the clue right there. Potentially he said something along those lines and they cut that out. But anyways, they keep kind of going on. I'm going to let this play out a little bit more.
Okay, fine.
No, we don't
If
want to
your
talk about
kid
kids
dies,
dying.
then you could be sad. But if
No.
you got money, dude, shut the up and be happy. Go to In-N-Out.
All right, okay.
So you can, the reason why I'm playing these clips is just to give you context that you can see Sean is really going more and more off the hinges in this interview and very well likely could have said something controversial. Now we get to the interesting bit. So again, this interview was pulled down in the morning for whatever reason. Then it resurfaces with this little interesting tidbit. Check this out.
No, dude, I went into the charity mission in Africa. But anyways, really helped, man. Thank you guys. But I go to this orphanage, dude, and it's up. I mean, like you're driving through the city, like dilapidated buildings, like there's no social program.
5 minutes later.
Every
no-
time you get a microphone, how about this? How about you just phone? Drickus is going to fight this weekend.
Oh, yeah,
That's
fight-
Changing topic. Something happened. He said something. He said something crazy. He said something crazy. I think it was so bad, potentially. Not saying Sean's a bad guy, not going off, but like he must have said something that either Michael Bisping wanted to do him a solid and didn't want to get him in deep trouble and deep waters at this point. So he's, hey, I'm going to do you a solid as a fellow fighter. He made a choice after the fact to have that pulled. That's option one. Again, this is speculation. Option two, he's obviously taken this with a lot of other people from the UFC watching. Maybe somebody saw it and they went back, they ran it by somebody else in the staff, and they said, yo, you got to pull this down right now. We're in too much trouble to have Sean Strickland going out there and saying some more controversial stuff. Was it about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Was it about something else? I don't know. That makes sense because that's nowhere in this interview, and he just brought that up. I don't know. Did anybody else out there see when this premiered and see it get pulled and have these same questions? You let me know in the comments. And I say all this just to point it out. Do I think it's a big controversy? I just think it's interesting. I just think it's funny that I caught this, and I don't know what was said, and I don't need to know, I suppose. But something went down, and something got pulled, either from the UFC and they asked him to do it, or Michael Bisping was just doing him a solid. Since I don't know, I'm gonna assume the latter, that Bisping did him a solid. But let me know what you guys think. Is this interesting? Did you guys pick up on this? Yes? No? Let me know in the comments. All right, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.